welcome our panelists for this very first session of the summit. We have Pranav Kohli, the CEO and founder of PWR, Aditya Khanna, the co-founder of PWR, Rohit Gopakumar, the CEO of Times Entertainment Vertical, WWM Entertainment TV, and digital network, the Times Group. And the session will be moderated by Mihir Bhatt, the Managing Editor and Chief Business Officer of the Times Network. May I please request Mihir to walk up on the stage along with the panelists and take...
Thank you, Aisha. Good morning, everyone. So like Aisha said, we'll switch gears and we'll talk about pickleball. India is definitely emerging as the pickleball giant globally. Pranav, I want to start with you. Pickleball has been around for more than 50 years. Why is it picking up now? I mean, I understand that during COVID it really grew, but even now, we are out of COVID. It remains the fastest growing racket sport in the world. In US, it has practically taken everybody by storm. And in India also, we have seen more than 160% growth in pickleball ecosystem annually. What is fueling this growth?
Yeah, I mean, one of the key things about pickleball is that it transcends gender, socioeconomic backgrounds, body type, and age. So anybody can play pickleball. So if you look at me, I'm today 160 kgs. When I started pickleball, I was 186. So somebody of my body type could get on a court, which again, I can't do with any other sport. Any age bracket can play, 4 to 80. Anybody can play the sport. It's easy, hand-eye coordination, allows for that movement. And then also it's less intimidating for women. It's one of those sports where men and women can play together. So practically my daughter, my wife, and my father and myself, we can all be on a court and enjoy a competitive game of pickleball. So it's very inclusive. Accessibility is a key factor. The cost of infrastructure is, it's not very high. It's fractional. In one tennis court, for example, you can fit 4 pickleball courts from a sizing perspective. And to create it is also not expensive. So I think all of these factors collectively are, fueling the growth, but also consumer behavior across the globe is changing as well, specifically when it comes to sports. So when it comes to sports, a lot of participation is happening in new age sports. And you see that with not just pickleball, but also paddle. And what has happened is across the globe, everybody is, during COVID, looked for a new hobby category. And that's why, Peloton grew from a cycling perspective. Nobody knew indoor cycling could be so big, right? And pickleball is one of those sports which got the fancy of a lot of people because of its inclusive nature. And that's how the sport is grown.
Right. Aditya, my next question is for you. You have been a professional tennis player. You are also actively involved in pickleball and developing the pickleball ecosystem in India. You are driving the formal structure of pickleball ecosystem between you and Pranav, both of you. This transition from tennis to pickleball, we have seen it happening in US as well, where pickleball is expected to overtake tennis in next 5 years. What is your view about pickleball growth in India?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The transition from tennis to pickleball is happening in India a lot as well because you see a lot of tennis courts in US have got converted into pickleball courts. Primarily, there are many factors why this is happening. One, as club owners, a lot of the club owners are making more money out of one tennis court can be converted into 4 pickleball courts. So the economies of scale is much better in terms of the return on investment on pickleball. And 16 players, pickleball is primarily played in doubles. So there are 16 players playing on the sides of a tennis court. As Pranav also mentioned, the easiness of playing the sport, the inclusivity of the sport in terms of all ages, in terms of the body dynamics as well, is having a huge factor in driving that growth. And you see in the last 2 years, the kind of growth pickleball has seen in India is totally phenomenal. There are new courts coming up, older tennis courts getting converted into pickleball courts, and every institution or every club which has sporting facility now is making pickleball courts. And we just conducted a few events. We conducted the Nationals, and we conducted an event in the DLTA where we converted 7 tennis courts into 28 pickleball courts. And on 28 pickleball courts, over a period of 3 days, we had more than 2,000 participants, which is a huge number, which probably tennis has never seen on a nationals or in a 3-day event. And more than 3,000 matches happened on those courts, which is a huge factor. So it's a great community sport, which is driving that factor as well. And the nationals, which was held at the BU at the Bennett University over on 16 pickleball courts, we had participation from more than 20 states, and from juniors of under 12, boys, girls, from under 12 to under 14, to age ranging up to 60 plus professional tennis, professional pickleball players, men's, women's, mixed doubles. So you see that participation is so huge because of the age bracket which it is following, and the easiness of playing the sport. So I feel pickleball will probably be the most actively played sport in the country after cricket, I think, in the next couple of years to come.
Right. I'll take a cue from that. Rohit, you have decades of experience in dealing with brands, marketing, brand positioning. Pickleball, like Adi also mentioned, it's actually the next big thing after cricket. How are brands looking at this sport? Because I've seen, I keep watching on Insta also, so many celebs and corporates are actually warming up to the idea. So what is your experience?
Okay, so let me start this way. What I've seen from a media perspective, because when I'm talking about, when I was in Star TV, when I'm talking about IPL when it launched, whichever way, I feel disruption is innovation. Okay, and people who are able to get there in terms of ahead of time are the ones who are reaping the benefits right now. Like people, if you look at IPL today, if somebody wants to get into IPL final, getting an ad spot, even, it's too high compared to what it was when it started. Actually year on year, the value chain is going on increasing. Now, let me give you some examples, which then I will tell you why the brands should be looking at this as an opportunity. If you look at IBM wanting to be with tennis as a sport, they have no connect. But today when you think of Wimbledon, you know IBM is going to be there as part of a sponsor. Or Rolex, for example. Every sport has time limit, right? Be it football, be it cricket, be anything. But Rolex understood how to, use the time, clock at the tennis to ensure that the branding is elevated, right? So it's all about identifying what is happening. See, honestly, I really cannot tell any brand today that this is the number going to be tomorrow. But I can tell this much because of what Adi and Pranav was talking, the value of, or I think accessibility of the sport, the number of people who have started playing this sport, right? I can give you examples of local tournament which is happening. My colleagues, 9th standard kids did a pickleball event. And there were a lot of local brands who used that opportunity to be at that venue, right? So when people like us, I'm talking about like Times Group being in partnership with Pranav and Adi, when we get into something like this kind of a sport, we know why we are getting into it, because I think the narrative is very clear. We feel this is going to be the next big sporting event which will happen for us. Because right now we talk about, say, X number of teams, but we believe it's going to be like, I think it'll be 25 teams plus in the next couple of years, which we feel is going to happen, all because of popularity. Two, the brands, when they come in now, the cost of entry would be low, and they can actually build a narrative. Third, this is one of the sports which I think is not segregated as male-female sport, right? So here it's ubiquitous. I think different brands can come in, and right now if they get into this kind of a space, they can actually break clutter. A beauty brand can come and take, pickleball sponsorships or team ownerships. The idea is inclusivity, as he said, and I think a lot of us are here from companies, brands. We want to invite them also to be part of it, because I think it's a revolution of its kind, and that's what I feel from a brand perspective.
Right. So this is actually an opportunity for brands to associate early with, let's say, a revolution or disruption, as you said. But Pranav, I want to ask you, US, which currently is the largest pickleball ecosystem globally, how the evolution has been, what are the valuations, how teams and team owners have benefited, because it is still growing at a very rapid pace, even in US. So what is your observation?
Yeah, Mihir. Before I answer that question, I'll just add a couple of things to both
Sure.
these points. So just to Adi's point and what is happening with tennis and, within the tennis fraternity, as we speak, you've got Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf playing against Maria Sharapova and Andy Roddick in the US. and they're playing for a weekend for $1 million. So obviously there's a lot of interest within the ecosystem for pickleball in tennis players. Andy Roddick himself, commented on the fact that if tennis does not change, then there's going to be things, pickleball is going to take over. And then I think that's a very natural kind of a progression from a sport perspective. And I don't think they're competing against each other personally. I think they can coexist because tennis has a legacy. But there are a lot of tennis players today who are adopting pickleball. In fact, a lot of the top players across the globe are actually ex-tennis players who've come into the sport. And then coming to, what Rohit was mentioning, I just want to mention, a specific couple of anecdotes from the US, specifically when it comes to pickleball. So if you look at Skechers in the US, Skechers obviously did very well in that run-walk category, which was their, prime category. But then they launched Skechers Pickleball. And actually, that has been one of their most successful campaigns to associate. In fact, if you go to a Skechers store today in India, you have a dedicated section for pickleball. And if you look at, the advertisements they've done over the last 1 month, they've got full-page ads on pickleball coming out in national newspapers like Times of India. So I think the advantage of associating today is primarily on the fact that you can build categories around it. I know a sunscreen brand in the US, which is, because it's such a participative sport, that communities are built around it. The word of mouth is strong. So everybody who's playing would then go on the same. So from a brand perspective, you're actually associating with a community than a sport. And that community is very, very coherent, talkative, and it's, it's together, and that's how brands are being built even in the US. So that's from a brand perspective a great opportunity, because a sunscreen brand unknown outside built a full brand out of pickleball and is now amongst the top sunscreen brands in the US. So I think that is a great opportunity. Now coming to the valuations and the team ownership kind of thing, when I got into sport, and I got into sport a little early, 2022, and you can imagine if that is early, so how new things have been. Major League Pickleball, which is the largest league in the US, actually had teams at $125,000. And I had a handshake deal with the owner and the founder of Major League Pickleball, is today raising fractional ownership from a fan base at a $34.6 million valuation. And I think that's where, Times Group and PWR is going to lead the way. I think we are going to be the first ones to fractionalize ownership as well as we go forward, which is going to benefit the team owners quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah. So I think, fractional team ownership from a fan base perspective. So all of these things, when they come into play, we're looking at it very differently. Because it's such a participative sport, so you can think about fractional team ownership. You can think about those kind of valuations. And I think people who get into the sport a little bit early, they'll see that there's a hockey stick growth and valuation growth going forward.
Right. Rohit, I want to bring you in on this point. I was reading a very interesting comment in one of the articles published in international publication that pickleball is actually a rock concert of sorts with sports thrown in. Obviously now, Pranav mentioned about the Times Group and PWR coming together, and we are roughly a month away from first, I would say, proper, formal, full-blown Indian Pickleball League. That's going to happen in Bombay. So, yeah, your comments.
So the good part is, as a media group, I think our play has been across platforms, and that's, I think, a big advantage. I'm talking about be it entertainment like Filmfare, Radio Mirchi, or any of those, to serious stuff like your Times Now and all that. So our play is so good that we understand how I can marry these two things together at one point, right? So our event is like 17th of March onwards. So the whole idea is to make it so interesting that it has to have the seriousness of sport, because obviously I think we are getting the world's best ranked players. So it's going to be a serious game, and it's not going to be like a very, it's not like a gully cricket right now. We may get into it later, but right now we're talking about trying to get the benchmark set right. So those players and the best of entertainment married together, I think we can, copy shamelessly from somebody, So we're copying that, and I think in that sense, we're going to make it arresting and interesting for audience, on ground, on air, online. And the beauty of this sport is because it's not so long, right, as a timeline. If you look at what's happening today, audience 15 to 35, their attention span is so small. And that's also a good thing for sport like ours, because it's just, I think, a 15, 20, 30 minutes kind of a game. So what we could do is we could actually take a lot of things from there onto a social media handle, Instagram posts, reels, and things like that. So that also could be a big opportunity for brands. You know, instead of just having a 3-hour game or a 6-hour game. That's what we feel.
It's WWE meets UFC.
Oh yeah, right. But Eddie, if you can just, for the benefit of viewers and everybody, if you can just explain, how the pickleball ecosystem works. Who are the associations? Like you have FIFA in soccer, or you have, let's say, ATP rankings in tennis, or you have ICC managing cricket globally. How is that ecosystem evolving for pickleball globally, and where is India in that?
So, first of all, leagues like this will help the Indian players a lot. I'd like to add to that because what IPL did for Indian cricket is truly phenomenal, and that's what the League of Times and PWR is going to do, is put India on the global map of pickleball as well. And that's why the Indian players will play these leagues, and the grassroots leagues will start from this, and they will get encouraged because as leagues like this come, prize money increases, sponsorship opportunities increases, these Indian players become heroes for junior kids, and that's why the junior grassroots development starts. And so the governance structure is, of course, very important when leagues like this and the sponsorship things are coming in. So the way the Indian structure is working is there's a body called Indian Pickleball Association, which is working strongly with the Global Pickleball Federation. Global Pickleball Federation is aligned with the US Pickleball Association, which is the rule-making body of pickleball in the world. And GPF has continental federations, which with Europe, with Asia, with South America, with America as well. And they're following the International Olympic structure of getting the International Olympic recognition. And in India, we play a strong part because India's a pickleball giant as well. Like US, India is probably number 2 at this point in time. So from the Indian structure, we're getting the right governance structure right. We've aligned ourselves with the GPF and with the Asian Pickleball Association. GPF currently has about 60 or 65 countries already aligned with it. We are helping them form the Asian bodies as well. From the Asian perspective, we are choosing right partners who can develop these pickleball rightly in the Asian countries. So whether you take it as Hong Kong, we have involved the Hong Kong Tennis Association, which is great. We have the UAE Tennis Federation, which already does the Dubai Masters, and they're very well equipped in doing world-class events. Similarly, in Middle East and in Central Asia, like Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, also we have links with strong bodies as well. So that's why the whole global structure will become strong in developing pickleball. And in India, the way it is working is we are working strongly with the Indian Pickleball Association, which already has a body of work of multiple years of doing nationals and grassroots development with multiple academies for junior development. Just I mentioned before, the 4th nationals took place where more than 2,000 people were playing from juniors to adults, and representation of more than 20 states, which is truly phenomenal in a sport which has shown great growth in the last 2 years. And setting the structure right in India is very important. We have in our states, we have sports players, administrators who have the experience of growing sports in the past as well. And all these states will, of course, have districts as well where there'll be members who will be setting, because India is so huge, we need independent, strong bodies as well in states to develop the sport. And the most important is to make the 8-year-old children or 10-year-old children to start playing the sport in schools, in districts, in colleges, so that the sport grows from the grassroots development, setting academies, getting foreign coaches over here from US to train them, and that is a structure we're working with. And Indian Pickleball Association, along with the Times Group at PWR, is helping this growth of the ecosystem of the sport by developing the sport right from grassroots, by creating the infrastructure, getting the right coaches and getting the right tournaments and getting the right sponsors, and working strongly with the Asian Pickleball Association and the Global Pickleball Federation to also take it to the Olympics as well. And that's the dream of us as a group as well, to have pickleball as an Olympic sport in 2036 when it happens in India. Pranav, would you like to add to that vision as well about?
Yeah, I mean, it's a single point agenda, 2036 Olympics in India, and pickleball to be an Olympic sport by then, and India to have its first gold medal in pickleball in 2036 Olympics. I think that's the vision we're kind of following. And obviously governance needs to be right and all those things need to be right, but India is going to lead the charge in that. And I think we believe that with the kind of participation we're going to see and the kind of hockey stick growth we're going to see, it's going to be very critical that we take that onus on us. And obviously with the Olympics in all probability going to happen in India, I think it becomes even more imperative that India takes that lead in getting the IOC recognition and getting the sport into the Olympics.
So if I understand this correctly, Pranav, are we saying that between PWR, Global Pickleball Federation and Indian Pickleball Association, it's going to be a melting pot of the most influential players globally, including India, and the most authentic, or let's say the only official global body with an Indian arm for pickleball in the future?
Absolutely. And I think what's very critical is that we need to understand that, as you rightly said, that pickleball has been there since 1965, right? The first governing body in pickleball came in 1984 with USA Pickleball, which till date remains the official and rule-making body across the globe. So all the rules that are being created by USA Pickleball, which is now being transferred to Global Pickleball Federation. And with the Indian Pickleball Association playing a strong role in the formation of Global Pickleball Federation, and also the Asian Pickleball Association playing a strong role in the continental side of it, I think that power shift is going to happen. I would say not power shift, but I think that leadership status is going to come to India to take the sport into the Olympics.
Right. Rohit, as you rightly mentioned, Times Group is known to pioneer a lot of such initiatives, path-breaking initiatives. Taking a cue from what Pranav mentioned about valuations in US, when you say, we have a early starter advantage, are you saying somewhere that brands or let's say team owners who associate right now are looking at that kind of explosive growth in valuations maybe 5 years from now?
So, a couple of conversations which we've been having, the interest levels in terms of wanting to be there is also because they also are playing the sport, and even a better one point I missed out saying is that post-COVID, the regional dynamics, as in terms of audiences, content for regional and regional brands, has become very strong. So that also plays automatically into the hands of kind of a league format. Because if we talk about, I thought it was, myself, I play pickleball. I was thinking it was a very localized, system in terms of like a sport. But if you look at it, even in Cochin, Surat, these are the kind of places which talk about people are playing pickleball, right? So from, I would say, even a Kalyan Jewelers from Cochin is interested in wanting to be, for example, right? Somebody from Coimbatore, builder, is interested, wanting to be from Coimbatore. So it's all because now they understand the power of local brand, coming up to be into a national player, and that's an opportunity where, right now, if you look at it from a media fragmentation perspective, trying to find the next wave is most important, and that's what I feel is going to be happening.
And you mentioned about developers. In fact, I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and he was also mentioning that now when buyers go to buy residential properties, they also look at if the facility has pickleball courts or not. But Pranav, coming back to you, a lot of people are curious and they ask very basic questions. You have tracked this sport so closely. If you can just explain the jargon of pickleball. First of all, okay, let's start with why is it called pickleball? Then there are terms like kitchen and all of that. If you can just give a quick summary.
I'll just add on that real estate point, and this is, the statistics that have been done by Zillow, which is one of the top websites for property values in the US. And in the US, any house which has a backyard pickleball court, the value is 30% higher in the same neighborhood. So that is the kind of value. So people are not putting swimming pools anymore in the backyard. They're actually putting pickleball courts because that actually increases the value of the house by 30%. And this is officially a statistic in the US, basically. So just, to add to that point.
And I think it's very easy because I saw some of the images. People are playing pickleball inside New York Stock Exchange, on terraces, in Central Park. They've put up so many courts.
Also, Airbnb did there's another app called Swimply which actually does only listings which have pickleball courts. And Airbnb owners who have pickleball courts on their properties, either in the condominiums or in their houses, actually are able to charge 17% higher rents on their properties. So these are interesting statistics from the sports perspective, because today you don't want to go to a facility which doesn't have pickleball. People are planning their resorts, and the first thing they ask is, do you have a pickleball court? Look at Taj Lands End. They just put in a pickleball court. And the reason for that is because people are actually coming in and asking. I mean, Taj, I know for a fact that Taj is looking at doing, pickleball courts at many of their properties. And I think more and more condominiums and builders are understanding that, okay, this is a sport that now you can actually have 2 or 3 courts, have more of the community engaged as opposed to other, thing. And that's where the community also gets built even further. Now, coming to the jargon.
Why is it called pickleball?
Yeah. So pickleball is the rumor is that the owner, his dog's name was Pickle, and that's why it's called pickleball. But the actual reality is that the guy who invented the sport, his mother just called it, pickleball basically. So I think that's the reason. But we would like to believe it's because of the
kitchen
dog.
area.
Sorry?
I'm saying, I want to say this is a great pickle to be in.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people say.
For a change, we can be pickled.
Yeah.
And the kitchen is basically the non-volley zone where you don't enter and you don't hit the ball on the volley basically. So there's a 7-foot. The dimensions are similar to badminton. It's 44 by 20. In badminton, the service line is 6.5 feet, and in pickleball, it's 7 feet. Is a non-volley zone. In that non-volley zone, you can't enter, so that's called the kitchen. So typically, people will tell you, "Get out of my kitchen," basically. So you can't enter that zone and hit a volley. If the ball bounces, you can hit it. That's typically the 2 things that you need to remember. And that's it. I mean, those are the rules for pickleball primarily.
All right. Time is up, but one last question for you, Adi, very quickly. Do you see more and more professional ranked tennis players migrating to pickleball or completely switching to pickleball? I mean, how soon we'll see Andre Agassi's and Steffi Grafs of the world coming out of pickleball?
So when that started, it was very heartbreaking for me, but it is happening, and there is a lot of professional tennis players who've already moved into pickleball. I think outside the top 100 tennis players, because tennis is a tough sport, and the way the structure of tennis works is not enough people make money, apart from the top 100. So, but there are millions of people playing, and just now there are a lot of movement happening of tennis players moving to pickleball because they have a natural competitive advantage, and the revenue opportunities are much bigger. I think, giving example of a few Indian players are probably making a lot more money than the top tennis players right now, which is great for pickleball. And like Arman Bhatia and Aditya Khanna, these guys are already competing against the top tennis players of India in terms of earnings, or probably even more. So definitely the movement is strong. Movement is here to stay, and you'll see a lot of conversions of already we're seeing of courts and players is going to happen. Actually all racket sports, if it's going to happen, and it's great for the sport, and we're happy to be a part of it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Adi, Pranav, and Rohit. Yeah,
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. So let's get pickled. The countdown has begun for the first Indian Pickleball League, which is happening next month. Thank you so much.